Hello, and welcome to CivilNet. Joining me today is Bedian, who's been based in Armenia for 4 years and is the Director of Operations of the Tufenkian Foundation, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary of impactful work across Armenia and Artsakh. Thank you, Greg, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us today.
After the war, after the devastation, many people and organizations are really demoralized. But why is now the time to really put in the work?
Well, if we don't put in the work, then it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy that we'll lose more territory and we'll lose more people. Looking back at Tufenkian's work, especially in Artsakh, up until the war, our work was focused in Kashatagh and in southern Hadrut, where we were focusing on trying to get people to resettle there, to build up the lands, to have a reason for holding that land. And so without doing so, we might as well have said, well, here, Azeris, why don't you take this land because we're not using it. And the same thing applies here in Hayastan today. Our work is focused now, we've refocused down into Syunik, and that's another area that suffered from depopulation over the last 2 decades. And so we're trying to take this opportunity where we have people that have come in from Artsakh that need a place to stay. And so we're focusing on taking villagers from Artsakh and settling them in villages in Syunik so that they already have the tools to become successful and start their lives over again. We just need to provide them with the place to do it and an opportunity to return to the lives that they knew as best as we can.
Reflecting on 25 years of work, what would you say have been the biggest challenges that the Tufenkian Foundation has faced in Armenia and Artsakh? And how have those challenges shaped the Foundation's current approach?
I think from day one, James's direction for us, and I wasn't here obviously at the time, but just in speaking with the previous directors and looking through our archives, I think it was clear that James wanted to focus in areas where others weren't working. So it provided us with tremendous opportunity, and because of that also there was tremendous challenges because no one else was there. Whether it was working in Kashatagh or working in some of the areas in northern Armenia, like Metsamord or Armavir, for example, where the need is so great from a social standpoint, from poverty standpoint, lack of education, lack of health care, these types of programs that we were trying to address. Some of the other areas that we became quite active in was domestic violence. Our initiatives eventually spun off into NGOs themselves that are doing fantastic work and that are basically self-sustaining organizations that have their own goals, their own initiatives, their own staffs. And so we're very pleased that we were able to spawn those kinds of activities.
Could you name a few of those?
Sure. The Women's Support Center, also Family and Community NGO, which has 5 community centers in Metsamord, Armavir, Artik, Bedian, and Ichevan. And so they work with disadvantaged children that come from broken homes, that suffer from domestic abuse, severe poverty, also children that have learning disabilities. So that all of these unfortunate situations, our feeling and the feeling of the Family and Community NGO is that there are no bad kids, there's just kids that are stuck in a bad situation. And so they're trying to help those families and those children, come out of, multi-generational poverty into a place where they can then at least become successful and start lives, like everyone else does.
With the ever-evolving political situation in Armenia and Artsakh, particularly after recent conflicts, how has the Foundation adapted its priorities to respond to the new realities on the ground?
The priorities, I think, still remain the same. Social justice, making sure people have opportunity. Obviously now the work has intensified and magnified. But from our work, one of the things that was very interesting, and I had heard about, but I hadn't really experienced for myself, when we had our celebration on October 3rd at the Tufenkian Hotel, the diversity and variety of people that we worked with as partners, as donors, as implementers, as beneficiaries, really scanned all geographies, all socioeconomic strata, every kind of political perspective you can think of. And it was very gratifying to see that people were coming together for the work, and it wasn't necessarily for this particular ideology or this particular area of the country. People just wanted to get things done, and I think that's one of the reasons why they've been coming and working with Tufenkian over the last 25 years. And that's something I think that we're really proud of, is that we've been able to get some things done.
Great. And what would you say are the most misunderstood aspects of the current humanitarian and development needs in Armenia?
I don't think we have enough time. No, but I think some of the things is that a lot of the people aren't aware of the situation outside of Yerevan. The situation in the marzes, in the villages, it's a complete different reality. And even simple things that for here are very understandable, like having a bank account, having a smartphone, in the villages, it's not always that way. And so some of the solutions that not only the government, but also NGOs and others have come up with for solving some problems, if they went out onto the ground and talked to the people who they're trying to help, they would realize that those solutions really aren't applicable for an important segment of the population.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like even a lot of tourists or diasporans that come to Armenia and they see Yerevan and they're like, oh, it's so developed, it's so, we were assuming it would be more impoverished, but like you end up stepping foot a little bit outside of Yerevan, and it's a completely different story for sure. So looking into the future, what is the Foundation's vision for the next 25 years? And are there areas that you hope to tackle or specific projects that you're particularly excited about?
Well, 25 years is a long time. It's a pretty far horizon to look at. I think, though, that the approaches of the Foundation will remain the same, focusing on issues that are long-term, that are not going to go away, whether it's social justice, environmental issues, economic development, community development, education, healthcare. These are all things that will always have pose challenges, and there's a great opportunity in Armenia to improve. So, I think we'll still be eating off of that plate, if you will. But I also think that in the near term, we're focused on, we've refocused on into Syunik. And like I said, our primary objective right now is to helping the displaced Artsakhs settle, and also help them with economic development, provide them with other skills and training that we can, that they can get their lives as best they can back to a level that's quote unquote normal. Our biggest initiative right now is we're focused on the village of Sivarans. And so we're resettling Artsakhs in the village, but we understand that these villages in Syunik have been depopulated for a reason. And so settling people into these villages, taking villagers from Artsakh, putting them in villages in Armenia isn't just enough, because the same pressures that caused emigration from those villages from the people that lived there before are still present. And so infrastructure development, economic development, agricultural development, community development, improvements in healthcare and in education, things that everybody wants for their families, we need to be able to provide to these people that are coming and living in these villages, not only the resettlers, but the host village residents as well. We're trying to create a situation where these villages will become prosperous and attractive, so that not only do people who have been displaced will want to move there, but also people will want to move there anyway, just because of all of the offerings that village has. And it offers village life. Not everyone is cut out to be on Tumanyan or Sardian, as it were.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody's a metropolitan person. Yeah.
No.
But again, there is a deep need to kind of decentralize from Yerevan for sure. Thank you for all of your insights. Thank you for taking the time meeting with us today and having this conversation with us. And thank you for watching CivilNet.